can I beat? With each gym leader's best Pokemon? Subscriber, tell me, what am I playing for? Aren't these views worth so much more? I've played dozens of other Game Freak games better than this. Just blink and you will miss me beat Pokemon X with one from each leader. Alright, let's go over the rules. Rule number 1, I can only catch and use the signature Pokemon from each gym. I can catch others to use HMs and moves like Thief, but I can't use them in battle, unless I'm trying to steal something. Rule number 2, I can only use the moves selected by the gym leader and nothing else. Rule number 3, no items in battle, though I will be allowing my team to use held items. And rule number 4, I can't use any cheats or exploits. Now that we've got all that sorted, let's just jump right into the challenge. The first thing I do is pick my starter. While streaming the behind the scenes live, the audience votes for the water type starter just like they did in Gen 5, so I go with Brokey and name it Subscribe, which is what you should do right now if you haven't already. If you are one of those 25,000 plus people who have subscribed so far, you are truly amazing, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my pinky toe. Next, I encounter my first available Pokemon, Scatterbug. I catch one and name it Viola. Cool. Let's talk about Viola's moveset for a second. Viola teaches her Vivillon Harden, Infestation, and Tackle. The only difficult part here is that Harden is a move only learnable through the move reminder using Heart Scales, and we won't have access to that service until much later in the game. There are no other available Pokemon before the first gym, so we'll be taking on Viola with just her own Vivillon this time. What? Viola is evolving! What? Viola is evolving again! Now it's time to face off against someone who made the mistake of minoring in photography at a liberal arts university, and her team of a bug that walks on water and a Pepto-Bismol colored butterfly. I send out Viola, and Surskit starts the match off with Quick Attack, dealing very little damage. I go for Tackle and hit twice as much. Next turn, I get another Tackle off while Surskit is busy sporting water around. She heals Surskit, but my Viola comes back to take it down with 2 tackles. Viola sends out the Pepto-Fly, and it's Vivillon v Vivillon. We trade tackles for a while, but Vivillon eventually goes down, winning me a free headshot session. Great, I desperately need some. My profile picture is from 2016. Later, I find my next available Pokemon, Skiddo. I catch one and name it Ramos. Cool, let's talk about Ramos for a second. He knows Grass Knot, Bulldoze, and Takedown. Seriously? That's it? 2 Pokemon now with incomplete movesets? Huh. Anyway, next I find a Pokemon that'll actually get to use to its fullest potential, Esper. I catch one and name it Olympia. Now let's talk about Olympia's moveset. She knows Psychic, Calm Mind, Fake Out, and Shadow Ball. Even though I'll have to wait quite a while before Olympia learns any of these moves, it'll be totally worth it once she does. Let's keep this captured chain rolling. Next I catch a Helioptile and name it Clement. Let's chat about Clement's moveset. He knows Thunderbolt, Quick Attack, and Grass Knot, which is like, first I get the Grass Knot strat to counter the often heavy ground and rock types, but again, 3 moves? 3 Pokemon now, with 3 moves. I'm starting to see a theme here. I pick up the jaw fossil from a scientist in a dark, nasty cave, take it to another scientist in a brightly lit lab, and have him raise the Pokemon from the dead. He gives me Tyrant, and I name it Grant. Let's talk about Grant's moveset for a second. And are you actually kidding me? Rock Tomb, Bite, and Stomp! Making this Pokemon the official useless Eustace of the Pokemon X Gym Leader Challenge. Next, I find an Eevee, catch one, and name it Valerie. Let's talk about Valerie's moveset. She knows Dazzling Gleam, Quick Attack, Swift, and Charm. The moves will be easy to obtain, as 3 are level up moves, and Dazzling Gleam is a TM that we received from Valerie's gem. The hard part will be evolving our Eevee into a Sylveon, using the brand new mechanic called Nintendogs. Next, I find a Hawlucha. I catch it and name it Karena. Cool, let's talk about Karena's moveset. She knows... what? Home Claws, Flying Press, and Power Up Punch. 3 moves again. Are you kidding me? That is now 5 out of the 7 we now have, and the total 8 available Pokemon for this challenge that each have only 3 moves. Wild. What? Olympia is evolving! This is it, y'all. I have nearly every Pokemon available in this challenge before the second gym. I'm about to sweep this game. Ready? Next, we face off against that guy at the gym with way too much chalk on his hands, and his team of baby dinosaurs Littlefoot and baby Sinclair. You know, the phrase "not the mama" means 2 very different things in each of those franchises. Oh, I made all the millennials cry. Grant sends out Amara, so I start off with Ramos. Ramos gets a little damage in with Bulldoze, lowering Amara's speed. Amara comes back with Thunder Wave, paralyzing Ramos and lowering his speed as well. On the next turn, Amara uses Takedown, activating his ability and turning all normal type attacks into ice type attacks. Down goes Ramos. Next, I send out Grant, who takes Amara down with one good bite. Next, Grant sends out his own baby dino. At this point, I just hope the match doesn't end in a Tyrunt. Grant starts off with Rock Tomb, but Tyrunt comes back with the exact same attack. Next turn, they both decide to bite each other. No biting, babies, no biting. One more turn and victory is mine. But Gym Leader Grant goes to heal Tyrunt, a luxury I simply won't bother with. One good bite and my Grant goes down. Next, I send out a Pokemon that'll actually be effective here, Corinna. She starts off with a mean Flying Press, nearly taking her opponent out. But Tyrunt stays strong and goes for Rock Tomb. He misses, and Corinna goes for Flying Press, taking Tyrunt down, and winning me a free month at this rock climbing gym. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll be back maybe once. What? Valerie is evolving! Wait, where'd she get that bow? What? Clement is evolving! Why does he look like Shakespeare? Next, I face off against my Sonic Drive-In server, Corinna, and her team of Daniel from the neighborhood of Make-Believe, a guy who's done so many trap lifts you can't even see his neck anymore, and the missing character from the 2002 Kids WB series, Mucha Lucha. Corinna starts off with Mienfoo, and I send out Olympia. Mienfoo starts the match off with Fake Out, preventing me from attacking. On the next turn, Olympia delivers a Shadow Ball, dealing a great deal of damage. Mienfoo returns with a Power Punch, but it does next to nothing. Corinna heals Mienfoo to full health, but it's not enough as Olympia comes back with 2 Shadow Balls in a row, taking Mienfoo down. Corinna sends out Machoke, so Olympia starts things off with Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, it does very little damage. Machoke retaliates with Rock Tomb, also dealing very little damage. Olympia lands a crit on the next turn, nearly taking Machoke down, and Machoke hits Olympia with another Rock Tomb, further lowering her speed. Corinna heals Machoke, and Olympia comes back with another Shadow Ball, taking Machoke down to 2/3 of its HP. Machoke switches things up and goes for Power Up Punch, dealing minimal damage and raising Machoke's attack. Fortunately for me, Olympia is still faster and gets off one last Shadow Ball, taking Machoke down. Last out is Hawlucha, and I send in Corinna, so we can get ready to rumble! Corinna starts off with Flying Press, easily taking Hawlucha to half health. Hawlucha responds with Hone Claws, buffing his attack and accuracy, but he'll never get a chance to use those Hone Claws as Corinna takes Hawlucha down with one more Flying Press, winning me a free pass to Disco Night at the roller rink. Awesome. Wait, I just realized something. The 70s were 50 years ago. Whoa. What? Ramos is evolving! Next, I face off against the family's groundskeeper. He always terrified me as a child. Now I'm just surprised Papa hasn't let the poor man retire yet. And his team of one of those images of molecular formulas you never really understood in sophomore chem, a total Capricorn, like you can just tell from its aura, and a carnivorous pitcher plant. First, Ramos sends out Jumpluff, so I go for Corinna. She starts the match off with a devastating Flying Press before taking just as much damage from Jumpluff's aerobatics. One more Flying Press, and Jumpluff goes down. For this next matchup, please don't forget to wake me up before you Gogo. I'm so sorry for these puns, they're just getting more and more convoluted. Ramos starts the bout off with Takedown, dealing very little damage. Gogo responds with Bulldoze. It deals minimal damage, but lowers Ramos' speed. Now Gogo has the speed advantage, and goes for Takedown, bringing us to nearly half health. Ramos comes back with a takedown of his own, critting, and nearly winning us the match. Unfortunately, Ramos heals his Gogo to full health. We deliver another mean takedown, but at this point, we just can't deal enough damage. And with every attack, Ramos suffers from recoil. On Ramos' last turn, he goes all out and is brought down by his own fatigue. I send in Corinna to take out this Gogo with one good, I'm still out of Flying Presses. Great. I send in Olympia, and Ramos heals Gogo once again. Olympia uses Shadow Ball, and though it doesn't do a ton of damage, it did lower Gogo's special defense. Gogo returns with Takedown. Another Shadow Ball will take Gogo's health down even further, but Gogo returns with Bulldoze, lowering Olympia's speed. She delivers one more good Shadow Ball, taking Gogo to death's door. Gogo uses one more Bulldoze to lower our speed even further. Gogo finally takes the first turn, but gets a low roll on Takedown, and Olympia lives with 4 HP. One last Shadow Ball, and Gogo goes down. Ramos sends out Weepin' Bell, and I switch out for Corinna to easily win this with one good I still don't have any more flying presses. Well, I switch Corinna out for Grant, and Weepin' Bell poisons him. Grant uses Bite and takes Weepin' Bell to 1/3 health. One more Bite and Weepin' Bell goes down. Winning me a limited edition Pikachu Chia Pet? Oh, I have to do the jingle now. You know I have to do the jingle. Chia. Next, I face off against Baby Dr. Octopus and his team of a remotely controlled sugar glider, a 3-eyed metal monster that stares into your very soul, and that little dinosaur that killed Newman in Jurassic Park. Clement starts the match off with Emolga, so I send in Ramos, thinking I'll bulldoze straight through his team. However, I quickly remember that Emolga's a flying type, negating the effects of any ground type move I could use. So I swap out for Olympia first turn, and she takes very little damage from Emolga's Aerial Ace. Olympia is able to get one Shadow Ball off before Emolga Volt switches to Magneton. I switch back to Ramos, and Magneton covers the battlefield with an electricity boosting terrain. Ramos goes for Bulldoze, which takes Magneton to 1 HP thanks to its sturdy ability. Magneton tries to take out Ramos with a boosted Thunderbolt, but thanks to my type resistance, it barely leaves a scratch. Clement heals Magneton, and I come back with another Bulldoze. Rinse and repeat until Clement runs out of Hyper Potions. One last Bulldoze, and Magneton goes down. Clement sends back in Emolga, so I swap out Ramos for Olympia. Now that Olympia knows Psychic, Emolga goes down in one hit. Finally, knowing that neither I nor my opponent can heal Eolisk, I send in Clement. He starts off with Grass Knot, as he doesn't actually know any stab moves yet. It deals very little damage, and Heliolisk comes back with Thunderbolt, doing a lot more than me. I quickly realize that this is a hurdle Clement won't be able to overcome, but I like the symmetry, so Clement stays in before going down to a few Thunderbolts. I send in Ramos, and take Heliolisk down with one good Bulldoze. Winning me my very own set of mechanical arms, complete with a neural transmitter allowing me to control them with my own thoughts? No. I've seen Spider-Man 2. I know what unmatched power can do to the human psyche. Next, I face off against that woman who designs and constructs her own cosplays for anime conventions, and her team of a small child with a man-eating ponytail, some guy on the streets of Paris just trying to make a living, and the winner of Best in Show at the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. Valerie sends out Mawile, and I go for Olympia. Olympia uses Fake Out, causing her opponent to flinch. I then swap out Olympia for Ramos, and it's a good thing as Mawile comes back with Crunch, a move that would have doomed Olympia. Ramos goes for Bulldoze, and it nearly takes out Mawile. Mawile returns with another Crunch. Valerie heals her Mawile to full health, and Ramos comes back with a second Bulldoze. Ramos hits a third Bulldoze, and Mawile goes down. Valerie sends out Mr. Mime, so I swap out for Olympia. She sends off a beautiful Shadow Ball, and Mr. Mime responds with Light Screen. One more Shadow Ball, and Mr. Mime is taken down. Out next, Valerie sends in Sylveon, so I send in Valerie. Let's see how long this battle goes. Sylveon and on. The opposing Sylveon starts off with Charm, lowering Valerie's attack, but she comes back with a charm of her own. Sylveon hits Valerie for a little damage with Dazzling Gleam, and Valerie goes for another charm. I'm starting to feel like I'm playing like the Pokemon AI, but in fact the AI is actually using the strategy I should be using. Anyway, Sylveon eventually takes Valerie out with all her Dazzling Gleams. Next I send out Olympia, who starts things off with the Fake Out. This causes Sylveon to flinch, but in the process Olympia becomes infatuated on contact. Olympia is immobilized by love, and oh, I hear a Louis Capaldi cover coming on. Hold on, let me collect myself for a second. Okay, we can continue. Olympia goes down to a few nasty Dazzling Gleams and Swifts, as she almost entirely refuses to battle. Next I send in Ramos, who deals a bit of damage with Grass Knot, but leaves just enough to become immobilized by love. Sylveon heals and Ramos comes back with another Grass Knot, dealing very little damage at this point. So I swap Ramos out for Corinna, not remembering that Fairy is effective against fighting. Corinna somehow survives the first Dazzling Gleam, only to do next to nothing with Flying Press. Corinna goes down to the next Dazzling Gleam. I send Ramos back out to get one good Bulldoze in before going down to another Dazzling Gleam. Finally, I send in the pinch hitter, Clement. He lands his Thunderbolt first, nearly taking out Sylveon, and she wastes her turn on Charm. One more Thunderbolt, and Clement takes the match, winning me tickets to Comic-Con 2020. Honestly, I'll probably just bail and go to the San Diego Zoo instead. I want to see them pandas. Later, I encounter my last available Pokemon of the run, Bergmite. I catch one and name it Wulfric. Alright, let's talk about Wulfric's moveset for a second. He knows Avalanche, Crunch, Curse, and Gyro Ball. An awesome moveset for an awesome Pokemon. Let's finish this thing. What? Wulfric is evolving! Next, I face off against Angelina Jolie and Maleficent and her team of the giant hummingbird Geoglyph in southern Peru. Barney, after he discovered the music of Erykah Badu, and everybody wants to be a cat, because the cat's the only cat who knows how to scat. Everyone's picking up on that feline beat, because everything else is obsolete. As Olympia starts off with Sigilif, I go for Olympia. I quickly regret my decision and switch out for Clement. Olympia throws up a light screen to raise her team's special defense. Clement comes back with Thunderbolt, lowering Sigilif to half health. Sigilif comes back with Psychic and brings Clement down as well. One more Thunderbolt and Sigilif goes down. Out next, I send out Ramos to take care of Slowking. One good Grass Knot, and that didn't do very much. One Yawn, and I go out very quickly. I swap Ramos out for Olympia, who takes a little damage from Slowking's Psychic. Olympia returns with a nasty Shadow Ball, nearly taking Slowking out. However, Slowking comes back with a Yawn, causing me to swap out for Clement. Upon entering, Olympia decides to heal Slowking to full health. Clement comes back with Thunderbolt, dealing a great deal of damage and paralyzing Slowking. They come back with another Yawn, and now I simply can't care anymore. I stick with Clement even as Slowking heals again, and deal a Thunderbolt before falling asleep. While unconscious, the opponent seizes the opportunity to do some damage with Psychic. Fortunately, Clement wakes up and deals one last Shadow Ball, taking Slowking down. Olympia sends out her last Pokemon, so I hope you'll Meow stick with me on this. It's gonna be a fun one. My Olympia starts off the bout with Fake Out, causing Meowstic to flinch. On the next turn, Olympia lets out a wicked Shadow Ball that nearly takes Meowstic down, and Meowstic returns with a powerful Shadow Ball of her own. Thankfully, we have the speed, and Olympia's Meowstic goes down to one last Shadow Ball, winning me an earring? Is that just like a really fancy earring? I mean, okay, I'll get my ear pierced for this. Now will you please bless this challenge with your fiercest vibes, O God of Drag, RuPaul. Next, I face off against Santa Claus after he joined the Hells Angels. Terrifying. And his team of an angry pine tree, the snowflake that Ron Howard's The Grinch took place in, and a representation of how we've impacted our environment. Glaciers have literally come to life and will now take over the world. Wulfric sends out Abomasnow, and I start off with Corinna. Corinna goes for the Flying Press, and Abomasnow goes down. Next, Wulfric sends out Cryogonal. Cryogonal? I don't know. And I send it back to him with another Flying Press. Wulfric goes back for his last Pokemon, and if you think this match is over, you have a Lugnut loose in your brain. Oh god. The following scene between these two Avalugs went on far too long, so we're skipping it. Guess what? My Wulfric lost. Big surprise. Next, I send in Corinna to do some damage with Flying Press, but this ice is just too thick, and Corinna is brought down by Avalug's Avalanche. I swap in Olympia and take Avalug down with one big Psychic, winning me a lump of coal. Was I really that bad, Hells Angel Santa Claus? Next, we get a Super Rod from a guy in his house. We run up to this girl and take Thief from her, I guess. We find a Pidgey. Name it Comment. Yeah, we'll name it Comment. We teach Thief to Comment. We teach Comment to Thief? I'm not really sure. We go searching for spare love discs, and we rip the scales off of the side of them. Like that. We take them to a world-famous taxidermist and trade them for some moves on each of our Pokemon. Now it's time to take on the Elite Four. First, we face off against a woman who hasn't gotten it through her thick skull that Ivory is definitely out, and her team of just like a feather? Just like a loose feather? The mascot of your local mattress store. Yes, I heard you. You don't have to scream. And the emblem in the middle of an Eastern European flag. Drasna sends out Dragalge, so I go for Valerie. She gets off a Dazzling Gleam and does quite a bit of damage before Dragalge returns with a Sludge Bomb. In order to survive these Sludge Bombs, I swap for Wulfric. Wulfric also takes far too much damage, so I swap again, this time for Olympia, who takes Dragalge down with one Psychic. Next out is Altaria, so I send Valerie back in. Altaria misses her first swing and takes a ton of damage thanks to Dazzling Gleam. Altaria heals just before Valerie can end things with Quick Attack and follows up with an interestingly timed Cotton Guard. Valerie strikes with another Dazzling Gleam, taking Altaria down. Out next is Noivern, who tries to end things with Air Slash, but can't do enough damage. One Dazzling Gleam and Noivern goes down. Out last is Drudagon, so I keep Valerie in to make quick work of this matchup. But Drudagon survives to deliver a mean retaliate back on Valerie, leaving her at death's door. Drudagon has the nerve to heal right in front of me, as Valerie goes for a quick attack and dies on Drudagon's rough skin. Simply tragic. I spend the rest of the match having to swap my Pokemon in and out because of Drudagon's Dragon Tail. I'm finally able to take it out with Olympia and Ramos. Next I face off against the Water Boy of the Elite Four, Theobald, and his team of something that clearly belongs in the New Orleans Jambalaya. The actual Tickle Monster, a Pokemon whose original name was Skullkraken, and your grandma's favorite brooch. First, Theobald sends out Clawitzer, so I go for Ramos. Ramos goes for Grass Knot, and Clawitzer goes to half health. Clawitzer comes back with another attack of their own, but Grass Knot takes Clawitzer out. Out next is Barbaracle, and Grass Knot takes it out in one shot. Next, I send out Clement to take care of Gyarados with one good Thunderbolt. Out next is Starmie, and Clement takes the game with one last Thunderbolt. Next, I face off against the evolution of Flannery and her team of Kimba, that Japanese lion that Disney ripped off, a falcon trying to escape a forest fire, a turtle with a gas problem, and for sure the scariest part of any haunted house. Malva starts off with Pyroar, so I go for Corinna. Corinna starts things off with Flying Press, dealing quite a bit of damage to Pyroar. Pyroar comes back with Hyper Voice, getting a critical hit, nearly taking Corinna down. Pyroar goes for the full restore, going to full health. Corinna comes back with another Flying Press, taking Pyroar down. Next, I send Clement in to take on Talonflame. Talonflame starts things off with a powerful attack, burning Clement in the process. Clement comes back with Thunderbolt, and Talonflame goes down. Out next, I send in Olympia, and Malva goes for Torkoal. Olympia starts things off with Calm Mind, just to get things centered, and Torkoal will go for Curse, lowering his speed and raising his attack and defense. Olympia comes back with Psychic, and Torkoal is almost taken out. Malva heals her Torkoal, and Olympia takes the opportunity to go with one more Calm Mind. Olympia goes for Psychic, and Torkoal goes down. Out last is Chandelure, and Olympia's going to start things off with a nasty Shadow Ball, taking Chandelure down. Next, we face off against a literal knight, okay, and his team of the Janitor's Keys. We could get into any door we want. A Digimon, let's be honest. Frank Zappa's new form in the afterlife, and Pokemon Sword and Shield. First, I send out Ramos to take down Klefki. We go for a Bulldoze, and Klefki's taken to half health. We lower its speed as well. A Dazzling Gleam will take us down as well. Klefki goes for Torment, but we're already attacking, you dum-dum. We go for Bulldoze, and Klefki is taken down. Out next, Wilsham goes for Scissor, so I swap in for Corinna. Corinna goes for Flying Press, and it only does a little damage to Scizor. Scizor comes back with Iron Head, dealing about the same. We go back for Flying Press, and Scizor takes another hit. We get another Iron Head, and it's way too much with that crit. Corinna goes down. Out next, we send in Olympia, just in time for Scizor to take a full restore. We use this opportunity to go for Calm Mind, and then we go for the attack. We go for Shadow Ball, and Scizor is taken down to half health. Scizor goes for X-Scizor, and Olympia takes a huge hit. I trade out Olympia for Clement, and Clement goes for Thunderbolt after taking a huge hit from X-Scizor. Nevertheless, Scizor goes down. I switch Clement out for Ramos to take on Probopass. We go for Bulldoze, and it nearly takes Probopass out with one hit. Probopass goes for Power Gem, nearly taking us out as well. Probopass goes to heal, but it doesn't help as Ramos goes for 2 more Grass Knots. Probopass goes down. I switch Ramos out for Olympia to take on Aegislash. We start off with Shadow Ball, and even though we don't have a lot of health, we do get a little damage in before going down to Aegislash's Shadow Claw. To finish things off, I send in Ramos. I started off with a Bulldoze, and Aegislash goes fully down. Next, it's the final match of this challenge against Winona Ryder. I didn't know you were a champion. And her team of a burb that can't stop T-posing, the Headless Horseman that lost his horseman, a terrifying T-Rex, an even more terrifying long neckosaurus, I don't know what that's called, a dripping dragon, and total waifu material. Diantha starts out with Halucha, so we throw in Olympia. Halucha starts things off with Swords Dance, and Olympia goes straight for the Psychic, sending Halucha down. Up next is Gourgeist, and Olympia takes a good amount of damage with her Shadow Ball. Gourgeist tries for Trick or Treat, but it doesn't do much. Olympia gives out another Shadow Ball, and Gourgeist goes down. I send in Valerie to take on Diantha's Tyrantrum, and Valerie starts off with Dazzling Gleam. Tyrantrum is taken out immediately. Next, I send in Corinna to take on Diantha's Amoris. We go for Flying Press, and it takes Amoris to death's door. Aurora goes for Reflect, and sets up with another full restore. Corinna goes for Flying Press and Power Up Punch, taking Auroris down to low health. Amoris misses a Blizzard, but then goes for a full restore, bringing it back to full health. Corinna goes for another Flying Press, taking Amoris down again, and another Flying Press to take Amoris totally out. Next, I send in Wulfric to take care of Diantha's Goodra. Goodra starts things off with Focus Blast, and takes Wulfric totally out of the race. I send in Valerie, Goodra misses the Fire Blast, we get off a Dazzling Gleam, Goodra heals, and we get off another Dazzling Gleam to make things fair. Goodra hits a Fire Blast, but it doesn't matter when we're at level 70, one more Dazzling Gleam, and Goodra goes down. Out next, Diantha sends out Gardevoir, so we send in Olympia. Gardevoir uses her Gardevoir right. Let's see what happens. Olympia goes for Shadow Ball, taking Gardevoir to half health. Gardevoir comes back with a Shadow Ball as well. Olympia goes down. Finally, I send out Clement. Gardevoir goes for a full restore, but Clement comes back with Thunderbolt. One more Thunderbolt, and that's the game! Before we wrap this video up, I want to give a huge shout out to all of you incredible people for supporting me and this series once again. It really means a ton to me that 28,000 people took the time out to hit that subscribe button and laugh at my really funny jokes. I'm just kidding. As always, remember to comment your favorite part below. Follow me on Discord to know when I'm streaming. Subscribe if you really want to support this series. And if you dare, share the video with all your Poke Pals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the Alola region.